Welcome to Visionaries Global Media, your number one source for podcasting entertainment. Visionaries Global Media, envisioning excellence on a global scale.
This is Banned from Ringside.
Tonight on the Banned from Ringside podcast, KO turns heel. We're going to talk about NXT 2.0, kind of making some strides. There was a great go-home show for AEW Dynamite, getting ready for Full Gear, in which we'll have your predictions and also some new prediction music, some NJPW on the back end, that and a whole bunch more tonight on the Banned from Ringside podcast. Ditch that 9 to 5. It's time to feel alive. Hello, Marks, and welcome to the Banned from Ringside podcast. As always, I'm your host, Bill Vagey, a.k.a. All right, get ready, because we knew Zach wasn't going to be here. It's all NBA, okay?
Okay.
A.k.a. Oscar Jobertson, David Jobinson, Job Koozie, Elton Hand, Job McAdoo, Smart Price. This is my favorite. Chris Squash. Maurice Beat Them Cheeks. Tony Marker. Jobber Parrish.
Dude, Beat Them Cheeks is great.
Steve Nash Browns. That's
the
all Vice.
NBA's back and Vice is hitting it all.
Vice told me to bludgeon you over the head with it.
Oh my God, that would beat those cheeks.
And sitting right across from me, we have Jason Cornelius Bell. What's going on, JCB?
True story. I was a huge Dr. J fan as a kid, so that's the Maurice Beat Your Cheeks reference is absolute comedy fucking central. So on that lovely note, allow us to bow our heads as I read from the latest edition of the Banned from Ringside podcast, volume 231, chapter 3, verse 14. And the good Sark saith, hashtag boo the heels. It is all good, baby. Listen, share, subscribe, repeat. Holy Trinity of BFR. No BFR West this week. Zach's being a good trooper and doing a little charity work for his JOB. So it's going to be the two-man weave over here. Me and Bill doing the damn thing like we always do. Let's get this motherfucker rolling.
We're coming at you from the... It's getting dark out there. It's getting dark here in St. Louis City, South St. Louis City. Place that I know and love. I no longer live here, but man, do I love coming back. We had daylight savings time. It's been quite a day for me. The Pelicans, my NBA team, are 1-11. They're terrible.
No, you guys pushed us last night a little bit. I thought you guys were getting ready to at least tie the game up.
They lost to Jason's Thunder. OBJ signed with the Rams just recently.
Yeah, I just found that out in the last hour, so that's a big huge deal.
But here's the big news. Edna Guerrero rolled over today.
Jump back.
She rolled over.
It's over. It's over.
She rolled over.
It's over. It's all downhill from this point.
Her mom was downstairs, and when I saw it was going to happen, I turned around, and I saw it was going to happen.
She was kind of like
started yelling. Her mom starts running upstairs.
She's getting ready to kick out on
I'm trying to get my phone out. Didn't get it. And she couldn't have been more tickled with herself for rolling over. She was pretty happy. And I screamed like Nelson Cruz had just misplayed a David Freese opposite field shot down right field in the 2011 Game 6 of World Series.
Sorry, Texas Rangers fans.
It was...
that's right. That's one of those
moments.
Yeah, that's legit,
It's one of those moments that... you like when you hear other parents talk about it, you're like, that's no fucking big deal. And then when you see your kid do it, it's a huge deal.
Fucking deal.
And she just rolled over and she was smiling at me. I was like, oh my God, it was pretty great.
Jesus, buy your gun now. It's over.
So big day. But we have some wrestling to get to. So without further ado, let's get to that 3 count.
Welcome to Visionaries.
Jason, how was your week?
Doing good. Can't complain.
Listen, I'm on Jason's.
Yeah, it's all there at the bottom. It's labeled. He just.
No, this is 3 count right there. Okay, let's get to that 3 count. Jason, what's the 1 count?
Since we really didn't talk about what we wanted to do as 1, 2, and 3 counts, I'm just going to be smart about this and call an audible. We'll go with what I think Bill would want to be as the 1 count, and that is the turning of KO flipping heel on Big E on Monday Night's Raw. Truth be told, Monday night, the Steelers were struggling against the Bears, giving me multiple heart attacks, so I can't say I watched Raw from beginning to end.
I had the Bears +7 and the over, so it was a fucking sweet for me, to be honest.
Fuck. Fucking Ray McCloud fumbling, you son of a bitch.
Oh,
two
that
hands.
was so sweet.
I'm
that
like,
was
you
so
two
sweet.
motherfucking hands.
Take it to the house.
We're up 10 points. I'm like, he's running to the end zone. I'm like, there are no flags and there are no whistles.
Just keep waiting for a flag,
yeah,
man.
Oh, yeah, I was waiting for something. I'm like, in that game, yeah, we should have waited for another flag every 5 seconds.
So you didn't do your due diligence and watch Raw?
No, I watched bits and pieces of it. I saw, like, Piper Niven turn heel, which was kind of interesting because, not Carmelo, but Eva Marie put her over, but that's another story for another time. The Big E match was the one that I wanted to kind of sneak my head into and watch versus, obviously, Seth Rollins. Obviously, another great match on both sides, but then the finish was the interesting part because we had a discussion last week on whether or not Big E had turned heel, and I had said no, that he didn't. I thought this was just something that, a champion should do. You can't really trust anybody because if you're not in the business to be the champion, what are you in the business? Why are you in the business to begin with? So fast forward to Monday night from last week. Now, all of a sudden, I see Kevin Owens starting to, get a little frustrated. And I'm thinking to myself, if this is going to happen, it's going to happen right now. And the next thing you know, he jumps fucking Big E. And it was all the reasons in that one snippet of this is why I like KO. This is the best use of KO. KO doesn't need to ever be a babyface. Ever. To me, he's now in the realm of Charlotte Flair. Way more credible / realistic as a heel than ever could be as a tweener or, dare I say, a babyface. He jumped Big E like his motherfucking mission was on the line, and now you can actually put a credible triple threat if you wanted to go it with the big Bill Vagey special. You can go Big E versus KO. You can go Big E versus Seth. You've now kind of set up at least a couple of different options for Big E to go moving forward. Where they go, not sure yet. Obviously, the next step is probably Roman Reigns, and that's the non-title at Survivor Series. We'll talk about that next week. But yeah, go ahead. Gush over your boy beating Big E down like nobody's business.
Well, first of all, it was for all the bullshit WWE Raw backstage drama segments, whatever. Maybe it's because it was Kevin Owens. Maybe it's because Kevin Owens is just better at this shit. But Kevin Owens going around to people being like, hey, man, I respect you. Like, that I didn't do that on purpose last week. That, to me, tells a more convincing story of a heel because it means that the heel has a point. Kevin Owens has never wavered off of he did not see Seth Rollins interfere in the match against Big E last week. So, as a heel, which he is now, I mean, I got to think. I mean, still, I think it was heelish. I thought it was odd that Raw started off with Big E and KO talking, considering that Big E gave him the big ending at the end of last week's Raw. But that is, at least they told
it's more psychology for why Kevin Owens did what he did at the end of
and it
Monday
makes
night.
it a little bit more compelling as a viewer. Like, KO was certainly trying to do the right thing.
He did his due diligence
the whole time through the Raw, and
Yep.
it was a KO Raw.
Yeah.
Sometimes they have a Raw, often they have a Raw where it's like one story going through, and oftentimes that story is shit. I think Kevin Owens is a better performer than most people in WWE, and therefore it was better. He was going up to Rey Mysterio, he was going like there was a funny moment with R-Truth.
Yeah, well, guys like he's wronged before in the past, and now hey, you believe me, right? And of course they're like, no, motherfucker, I don't believe you. You are Kevin Owens,
right?
You're the snake, or not?
Tiger can't change his stripes.
You're basically the scorpion on the Scorpion the Frog scenario, where all of a sudden the frog gets Scorpion over and the Scorpion stings him, or not even get him over. It's like halfway over and the Scorpion's like, you're dead, I'm dead too, but that's just what we do. That's what KO does, and that's the reputation that followed him. So at that point, not seeing it, but with you saying it, I can totally see why motherfuckers were like, no, I don't believe you. No, I don't believe you.
So KO and Seth Rollins have, probably as good of a match as you can have for a 2021 Raw main event. It was 22 minutes. They're probably my two favorite wrestlers in WWE.
Straight in-ring wrestling.
In-ring wrestling.
I can totally see on that.
They all get their shit. They got their shit in, and they told a story and everything. And then Big E accidentally gets in front of KO, and KO gets counted out, which is a bullshit way to end a 22-minute match. But you're also trying to tell a story, which I get. And
not the best way to set up the heel turn, but neither here nor there.
But KO had enough, kayfabe style.
Kayfabe style.
After 3 hours of trying to convince people that he wasn't a bad guy, and he had enough, and then he finally cracked and ends up doing the powerbomb on the apron to Big E, which you've heard shoot style. Many wrestlers say that's the thing that they never want to take that again. Apparently, that really hurts.
That joke. I mean, I've had the pleasure of putting together a ring one time, so it's basically 2x4s as the base of the ring itself. So
when did you put a ring together?
I helped Joey a few months back put a Tinder.
Oh, Tinder Mahal.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He asked me to be some just some hands or whatever the case may be. But long story short is that the bottom part of the ring itself, it's basically 2x4s, and then you put the canvas over it. So, just imagine you hitting your back while somebody's throwing you on the edge of nothing but 2x4s. Yeah, that joke is going to hurt a little bit.
Yeah, there are guys that say they never want to take it again because it hurts.
I don't blame them. I saw that shit. It's like, oh.
Like, long story short, KO turns heel, which is what we all want. KO is
his best use as a character in WWE.
He's a better heel. He's the best heel in WWE, if you ask me, on the stick for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean Seth Rollins is probably the most annoying. Roman's probably the biggest of the bunch because he's
Brock
the
Lesnar's
most known.
The scariest.
Yeah,
KO is the best on.
If you want to, if you put it all together, you're getting Kevin Owens.
So now we have kind of a traffic jam.
A little bit. Like I said,
Big E's got a lot of irons in the fire. He's got Roman Reigns coming up. He's got Seth Rollins. He's got KO. And, he kind of fucked around with Alpha Academy this week also a little bit, which is what you want from your champion, especially a babyface champion. That's what you want. This guy he's taking on all comers, and he is, his back's to the wall.
A little bit, because now it's starting to feel like the heels are sprouting out one by one,
And they all want a piece of the champ.
You're worried about Seth. Now here comes, KO, and then you got Alpha Academy in your peripheral. Yeah, it's starting to look like it, Big E is getting cornered a little bit. But like you said, I think that's a good thing, especially as a babyface champion one, and then as a first-time champion in Big E. This story is going to have to be told, and that's why I was saying, a few weeks back, I don't think this story ends anytime soon. I honestly think they want Big E to be a champion that you can come back to a year, 2 years down the line and already have this established, credible title run. So that way, if he could just say for the sake of argument, he goes back to SmackDown, he can, be the SmackDown champion. If he beats Roman Reigns, even better. But you can now legitimately make him a credible champion by telling these stories. He should beat Seth Rollins. He should probably beat, I should go like this. He should beat KO. He should probably beat Seth Rollins. And that should take him at least to January Royal Rumble time. He'll have a title defense there, and then we can kind of start making the moves from that point.
I mean, even as a KO and Seth Rollins mark, I'm also a big fan of Big E. It's well documented on this show that I've been waiting for a Big E singles run because he's the shit. He's not necessarily an in-ring technician, but what he does really well.
Yeah.
And he's also very likable as a babyface, and
Agreed.
he also seems like a big-time physical threat because the motherfucker is huge.
Right. And that's really all you can, to me, that's the WWE checkbox.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Especially the fact that he can at least be credible on the stick. He's goofy,
Oh, yeah.
but then when he has to turn it on, he's just like Kofi to me in that scenario. He gets serious when it's time to be serious.
Yeah.
Outside of that, he doesn't necessarily need to be serious. Now, I think we're going to see more so of a serious Big E moving forward because, like you said, there's now at least two and possibly a third threat in the Alpha Academy getting ready to try to take the title from him.
So let's go back a level, and we'll talk about we know that KO's contract is running up in WWE. So KO has held the championship before.
Oh, yeah.
And he has had major feuds before.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he gets TV time every week. He gets a lot of money. He's been a babyface for a long time, longer than he probably should have been.
Yeah, it feels like it's been almost a year and a half, but maybe not even that long.
I don't know. A year and a half ago was the Money in the Bank in the Tower. Like, I don't know. Time is fucked up to think about
2020
now.
fucks my shit up a lot.
Yeah.
That's the WrestleMania when he jumped off of the empty stadium WrestleMania. Was that 19 or that was
him versus Rollins?
Yeah, that was 2020,
at the
correct?
beginning of 2020.
Okay,
yeah.
that to me was a baby face, and then he was in 2021 at least.
He's been a babyface the whole time,
all the way up to this point. So that's why it's been at least a year of Kevin Owens being a babyface.
I mean, March 2020. That's a year and a half ago.
Okay.
That's a year and 8 months ago.
It's been way long enough.
So
time for him to go back and start wrecking havoc again.
And credit where credit's due. This is a good way to turn him heel.
Yeah,
I thought this
sure.
was a great way to turn him heel. We know his contract's running up. Is this WWE giving him a bone, being like, "Hey, we'll sign you again," and then once you sign, we'll push you in the back? Because let's be honest, Kevin Owens, for all the TV time he gets, for all the, he probably gets paid pretty well.
Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, he's not on the lower end. I would assume some in the middle towards the upper middle.
He's never been as big as he was when he first came in and fought John Cena, or when it was him and Jericho for 6 months, which was blissful, really.
Yeah.
Like I'd love to go back and listen to our podcast talking about it, because I don't know if I ever bitched about it, but man, it was really good.
No, even with the heel turn when KO finally turned on Jericho, I thought was really well done
at the Festival of Friendship. When him and Jericho were a huge story, though, getting tons of TV time. They still were only the second match on WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And there's that fucked up moment during the KO 24/7 on WWE Network where he came back after that match and he goes straight up to Vince sitting in Gorilla and he says, "How was that?" And Vince says, "It was all right." And you could see that Kevin was crestfallen. Like, the dude wanted Vince's approval and didn't get it. Kevin Owens has also said before that he will never leave WWE because it's a safety net for his family. He knows that he's making money and he's an unabashed family man. Is this WWE tossing Kevin Owens a bone so that he re-signs with them? Or is this them getting the most out of him before he leaves for AEW? Now, before you answer that question, maybe WWE doesn't even know. Maybe Kevin Owens doesn't know.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just asking for your speculation. As I've said before, we're not journalists.
I'll say I ain't got time to be no damn journalist. If you look at it from Kevin Owens' perspective, I mean, okay, you can resign and, keep the stable family life going. But I mean, WWE has proven that unless you're a certain amount of people, and we can probably count them on both hands, nobody is safe from being cut. And ultimately, that's what this boils back down to, is that, yeah, you have a safety net, a perceived safety net. You can make this money, but WWE can clip you at any given point. Flip side of it, if you're looking at it from the WWE spot, it depends on whether or not they're truly trying to re-sign him or not. If you're truly trying to re-sign him, then yes, you're wanting to give the image of we can still use you moving forward. This is an angle moving forward. Maybe we can get you the title, depending on what Roman Reigns does, yada, yada, yada. If you're not, then yeah, you're using Kevin Owens for the next 2 or 3 months, however long it is, to make Big E the bigger star. Either way, Big E is the benefactor of all this. What Kevin Owens wants to do and what WWE wants to do is ultimately the question. I think if I had to guess, it's two totally different things. I think WWE is just going to march along, and Kevin Owens is going to have to figure out what he wants to do in the next 3 months.
Do what's best for you.
Do what's best for you.
We can talk about some more main roster stuff before we move on to the next count.
I'm looking at this week. I'm just like, actually, the one thing I want to talk about. I know what I want to talk about. What do you want to talk about?
Go ahead.
Just to jump to SmackDown a little bit. This was basically the week of King Xavier Woods, where
that's where I wanted to go to.
Where now he has his own music. He has Sir Kofi as his right hand, basically the hand if you watch Game of Thrones. And now the Usos had stepped to the plate last week, and now they had a main event match between, I believe it was Jimmy Uso and...
I call him Jim Uso, but yeah, Jim Uso.
And King Xavier, where it ended up being a pretty good match. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, when's Roman coming down? And of course, Roman comes down, interferes in the match.
Not until Jim Uso
loses said match.
James Uso.
And then right before, the actual bending of the knee, Roman sneaks underneath, Superman punch, the bloodline, goes ballistic. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, if you'd have told me this 6 months ago, I would have never believed this, number one. I'd have probably bought it because I've pretty much been an unabashed Roman Reigns fan since he's gone to this head of the table gimmick. It's so weird for me to even think that now in 2021, because this is how weird wrestling is in 2021, we're getting ready to have an Xavier Woods, Roman Reigns, some sort of feud, I guess, if you want to call it that. I'm not sure if, they're going to wrestle on SmackDown. I'm pretty sure I saw that on SmackDown coming up on Friday night. Even if they don't wrestle on SmackDown on Friday night, you're still getting ready to have Xavier Woods rubbing elbows with arguably the biggest star in WWE. And like I said, if you'd have told me 6 months ago, I wouldn't have believed it. I kind of wanted them to do the Bloodline versus the Usos at Survivor Series, kind of like a 6-man tag or whatever the case may be. That way you wouldn't have probably Big E losing to Roman Reigns, and you can have a really fun 6-man tag and have the New Day, or either or could have went over at that point. I don't care which one you wanted to do. You could have enough guys in that match to eat the pin and still have an exciting, entertaining match. Now that you're going back to this quote-unquote traditional champion versus champion match, I would really like to think that Big E would come in and look good, but ultimately go down. But like I said, we'll talk about that next week. Xavier Woods, to me, was the story of SmackDown on Friday night with multiple segments. What he called Caleb Braxton, the town gossip. I was like, dude, I'm dead right now. That to me, really, it was everybody has had their time at the spotlight for New Day. Seeing Xavier Woods at the spotlight, in the spotlight, is A, refreshing, and B, entertaining.
I agree.
I mean, I need to go ahead and tag Xavier Woods on this.
I've been a Xavier Woods hater for a long time.
A hot minute.
But those guys getting pushed into the main event, Big E also,
yeah,
has forced them to become a little less goofy and a little more serious. It's not so much comedy anymore, even though Xavier Woods and Sir Kofi, have retained they've retained their New Day bona fides. The thing that
enough to where it's still getting the crowd entertained.
The thing that make them likable. I mean, the worst thing that ever happened with the New Day was when Kofi got squashed by Brock Lesnar and never addressed it.
Yeah.
It's still kind of frustrating, as far as much as you can be frustrated by SmackDown, but it's still pretty frustrating. But I like King Woods being thrown into the main event picture because it's fresh.
Yeah. And
I've never been a critic of his in-ring work.
No, I think in ring, it's hard to argue that he can't go.
He has a great babyface moveset.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have a problem with people not liking New Day. Either to me, they're calamari. Either you like them or you don't like them. To each his own. I'll just say this: with just going back to kind of pivoting back to Roman Reigns for 30 seconds, I was kind of worried about what's next. Who's next for Roman at this point? Because right now, obviously, he's not losing the title until we put Roman, or no, not Roman, but Brock or the Royal Rumble winner in front of him anytime soon. So you have to tell another story. This is a nice little story. King Woods isn't beating Roman Reigns, but he's going to give Roman Reigns a lot of problems getting from point A to point B.
We knew that we knew that Jey Uso wasn't beating Roman Reigns.
No.
And they got 2 main event matches on pay-per-views out of those guys, and both of them were fucking good.
Yeah. Way better than I thought. When I heard it the first time, I was like, man, this is that bullshit.
So,
and the next thing you know, I was like, oh, can I have that spoon so I can eat my words, please?
Yeah, just keep telling the story, but just make the matches cool. And Roman Reigns has been having good matches since he turned heel.
I'm not asking for, and people are like, oh, Roman Reigns matches aren't great. I'm not asking. Half of this is, the psychology going into the match itself. I'm not looking for Roman Reigns to do any Zack Sabre Jr. or any Bryan Danielson type moveset. That's not what he does. A lot of this is going into the match itself, the story itself. The last time him and Brock wrestled over in Saudi or whatever, a lot of that was just, okay, what is Paul Heyman getting ready to do? We've seen Brock and Roman wrestle plenty of fucking times. They just threw the Adam Wainwright 12-6 curveball in. What's Paul Heyman going to do? And that was the crux of this. So now that moving forward, we're going to, simmer that down. And then when it's time to bring Brock back up again, we're going to heat it back up.
That's 2 Cardinals references on the podcast.
You're
if you
welcome.
guys are keeping score at home.
You're welcome.
There's one other thing. I'm looking, I take all this time and I write all this shit down, and then we never talk about anything. Shotzi Blackheart was interesting. What's more interesting to me is that Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza have given themselves a name, which I'm always a fan of hearing what tag teams call themselves.
I think
this is a good one.
I think tag teams should have a name.
Of course.
Whatever it is, they should have a name.
This is a good one.
Very much so.
Los Lotharios.
Yeah, I was totally down for it. I'm like, okay, this is hot. Now, if we can keep these jokers together and not fuck up their booking, we got something going.
Do you remember who they fought against?
I have it written down. It was Cesaro and Mansoor.
What the fuck are they doing, Cesaro, man?
Okay, so
all respect to Mansoor.
But
what are we doing with Cesaro?
No, all respect to Mansoor. Mansoor A should have been eating the pin. B, Cesaro shouldn't have even been in that fucking match to begin with. C, this is the warning to Kevin Owens. Cesaro re-signed. They gave him that push against Roman Reigns,
and then
now
dropped
what?
Him back.
And now what? He's fucking jobbing for Mansoor. How in the blue hell is Cesaro on any given planet? 9, 10, 15, I don't know how many they are anymore, but I tell you what, on any of them other planets, Mansoor eats that pin before Cesaro does.
How many planets are there?
10 now? I don't know.
No, I think there's 8. I think they just took away Pluto. But it was 9 when we were growing up.
Right.
And now it's Well, when you were growing up, it might have just been like Mars and Venus and Earth or something.
You got your birthdays before mine again.
It's so cheap. I know. It's stupid.
Okay, just so we know.
The other thing, shit. Fuck. Oh, I had it right here. Oh, I'm glad that Dominic Mysterio is not in the Survivor Series match and they replaced him with Lashley. I'm glad Lashley basically squashed him. Lashley should be squashing him.
Oh, well, yeah.
I'm rooting for a Lashley, Brock Lesnar, no belt WrestleMania match. That is what I want to see out of both those guys. Let's just see who the biggest badass is. Those two guys. That's what I'm rooting for. I like this version of Lashley a whole lot. I like having a babyface Brock Lesnar versus a heel Lashley with MVP in his corner.
Yeah.
And that is something that you can put on a poster and doesn't have to be for a belt.
No, I agree. Because one of my favorite...
Keep Lashley strong.
Yeah, one of my favorite WrestleMania matches is Rock versus Hogan, and then Rock versus Austin. Neither one of them had a belt on the line. It was just two guys, in a good storyline. Dominic Mysterio, I'm going to keep saying it. He's going to turn heel on Ray. I'm going to keep saying it. I'm saying it on Twitter. I'll say it here. I don't know when.
Let me ask you this, and this will be the last that we talk about the main roster. But have you heard that Ray has said that he doesn't want to have this match? Now, that could be kayfabe.
He doesn't want to have a feud versus Dominic?
That's right. Yeah.
I haven't heard that. I can see that, but...
I mean, why, though? That would be weird for father and son, assuming they have a good relationship with each other, to not want to have a match.
Speaking as a non-parent, it would be hard for me to dig into that psychology.
I'd love to have a loser leaves town match with me and Edna May. Love it.
Hey man, I'll just meet you out front. I got these boxes.
She's
right
a
here,
baby. I would whoop her ass.
Let me go ahead and get these boxes done. I'll meet you out front. I think WWE wants to do it. I'm just not sure why Ray wants to do it. I think it would be a nice springboard for Dominic. If Ray looks at it big term, it's better for Dominic versus just the short term vision. But
I mean, I guess that could be kayfabe, and he's just not.
He just doesn't want to do it.
Telling the truth.
It wouldn't. I don't think it would be him as the heel. It would be Dominic as the heel.
Fine, whatever, but he should go over.
I think, yeah, and I don't have a problem with that.
It makes no sense for those two guys to be a tag team as a father-son team and then not have a match together. Every tag team breaks up and has a match against each other.
The only good part about this is because it's
throw them through a barbershop window. Who gives a fuck?
The only good part about this is, and here's my weekly knock on WWE, is it's WWE, and they can change this up any way they want to. If they planted the seeds where Dominic, it felt like he was going to turn. So if he doesn't turn, WWE, you put a fucking Jedi mind trick on a motherfucker and be like, oh, that never happened. So, neither here nor there.
All right, let's get to that 2 count. Now, which button is it? I think it's
yellow.
All right, so the 2 count, this is 2 weeks in a row that I've watched the entire NXT program. The entire thing. Now, I tell you that I write down this shit of every single segment.
I have as well. I'm doing my homework. Just because I missed Raw on Monday, don't be just throwing my black ass underneath the bus.
I'm just saying, there's so many fucking people on NXT every single week. I mean, really, if you go through it, there's probably 40 names on here. But it's very clear through, well, I think that we know why Vince is high on Mandy Rose, but Toxic Attraction is, not only do they have Mandy Rose, who has the women's belt, but they also have Dolan and I can't remember the name.
JC Jane.
Thank you. They also have the tag belts. So they fought Casey Catanzaro, Caden Carter, and Io Shirai. Did I say all those names right?
Yes, you did, my friend.
Fuck yeah. Not a bad match to open it up.
No, not
3-on-3. Not a whole lot to say. Toxic Attraction goes over as you might expect, as they are the heels. And they're a good heel stable as far as I'm concerned. What do you think?
When WWE had their draft, I guess it feels like it was a couple months ago. It was probably like more so of a month ago. one of the questions that came up, the other person that we kind of questioned why they didn't come up, Io Shirai was one of the people that I just assumed that it was just her time, especially when she dropped the title to Raquel Gonzalez. I figured, that's just the write-off. It's time for Io to move up, and then, we can kind of see what happens. And when she didn't, that's when, it was kind of, I wouldn't even say it was a red flag, but, just kind of what the fuck is going on. Now I can kind of see what the fuck I think is going to happen. Io is going to kind of be the KO to Mandy's Big E. We're going to use Io as my guest to kind of give Mandy some credibility. I'm kind of having a hard time getting into this. I need to see how this unfolds. I'm not necessarily sold on Mandy in the ring, but with Toxic Attraction there, that's plenty use of fuckery, so that would be the way I would expect it to happen. I can't see Mandy Rose straight up beating Io Shirai one-on-one. It would need to be some fuckery for me to be like, okay, I can allow this shit to happen in my head.
That was the best that we've seen Mandy Rose in the ring probably ever, and it was probably because she was
paired with Io Shirai.
Io Shirai, who's a stud. We'll talk about Pete Dunne and Hayes and Trick later. Kaylee Ray fights Saray. Poor Saray. She was a
dude. I said that on Twitter before the reboot. She was the next big
well
one,
protected,
and now it's just like, let's throw her ass out there.
Jobber. We had Joe Gacy versus Boa. Boa looks kind of rough in the ring, and then they kind of did some supernatural shit where the lights went out with Joe Gacy. I don't know why they have to do this stuff.
Look, I told you they fucked this shit up weeks ago, and nobody wanted to listen to me then. They fucked this shit up.
I don't know what you're talking about because I definitely didn't listen to you.
Okay,
what are you talking about?
I said weeks ago that they dropped the ball with Xia Li when he being Boa and Xia Li should have just been running roughshod. And this is before the reboot. They should have been running roughshod over anybody in front of them up until a certain point. Now there's just kind of like, Mei Ying is gone. Xia Li's moved up. Boa is, the combination of Mei Ying and him. Look, this whole thing was a hot mess. And now all you're doing is just giving Joe Gacy another dub to now, sooner or later, and I'm going to call it here first, he'll be a NXT champion in the next year.
Oh, you're calling it here first, huh?
I haven't even said it on Twitter yet. But I was thinking, I'm looking at this shit.
Breaking news right here on the podcast, huh? You haven't even said it on Twitter
yet. I was like, I'm sitting there watching this, and I'm like, man, this ultimately is going to be beneficial for Joe Gacy because he's such a polarizing figure. Either you like Joe Gacy as the character, or you just can't stand his ass. I'm on the latter. I can't stand his ass.
Is it go away heat or is it just heat?
It's just heat. I like him in ring. His in ring ability is something I've always, even with I saw him in Evolve, I thought he was good in Evolve. The character to me is insulting to me as a person, if that makes sense.
Solo Sikoa, who is the Usos' little brother. I think his name is Joe.
I think so. Sounds right. Don't quote me on that.
He looks just like his twin brothers. I mean, except he has blonde hair. I wish they'd just call him Joe Uso or
whatever. Yeah, but
just let it ride.
No, I was about to say then look, Braun Breaker need to be the first. Braun Breaker need to be like, hold my beer, I'm first.
Yeah, but Uso is not their real name, so at WWE could still own the name Joe Uso because their last name's not actually Uso. I have no idea what the fuck it is.
Okay, that's right.
But Solo Sikoa fought Grayson Waller and LA Knight in a triple threat. This was obviously a showcase for Solo Sikoa, who ends up pinning LA Knight.
Oof.
I mean, it was a well-worked match. There was a couple things that Grayson Waller did that made my eyebrows raise, where I was like, oh, look at this motherfucker. He was diving from the floor through the second rope and giving guys stunners and shit. I mean, there's no matches on NXT 2.0 that lasts more than 4 minutes except for the main event and the first match. And then they pound all these matches in there. And it's like, man, these matches, these are guys that can do cool stuff. There's some guys that can't do shit at all. But I don't know. NXT 2.0 is confounding to me. I'm still not sure if I like it.
As I'm looking at it,
it's better than Raw. It's better than SmackDown. I'm still not sure if I like it. It's better than Raw. It's better than SmackDown because it's not predictable. I don't know what's coming next.
Okay, and that's the only thing that because it's basically weeks old. So I mean, yeah, you can't necessarily predict too much of what's going to happen. As I'm looking at it, the first match was Toxic Attraction versus EO, Casey and Caden Carter. The last match was Pete Dunne versus Carmelo Hayes. Everything else in between, squash. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'll give you that.
With established guys, like LA Knight shouldn't be taking that pin unless they don't care about LA Knight.
I don't think they do, honestly. I think this is more so Grayson Waller being protected, which is, neither here nor there. I'm not trying to. Kushida, same concept. What the fuck is their bullshit name?
Oh, no. Hold on. This is what I wanted to talk about.
Oh, dude. I saw this name and I damn near freaked the fuck out.
I like
Jacket Time. Oh, God damn it. Hell no.
Yeah, I like
Jacket Time? Come on, man. Kushida came over here in the hopes of trying to be the, a next great Japanese superstar. This is the best use of Kushida in Jacket Time? Come on, man. They came out there. I was like, dude, this is some horse shit.
It's not the best use of Kushida, but if you're going to have Kushida and
Ikeman Jiro? Is that right?
Whatever his name is. I wish I knew. Sorry, I know. This is...
No, if I write it down, it's better.
It's Yukijiro or... He's another Japanese guy that wrestles in his jacket.
Ikomenjiro. That's his name. Now you can pronounce it any way you want to pronounce it. I'm going Ikeman Jiro.
He's the guy that wrestles in his jacket.
Yes. Ugh.
So now they're a tag team called Jacket Time.
Jesus Christ. Come on, man. Shouldn't you... Dude, when they came out, when Diamond Mine came out, I'm like, okay... Shouldn't Kushida really be focused on when the match started to really break down? Kushida should be worried about, Roddy Strong, motherfucker, you got my title, versus being in a tag team with Ikeman Jiro, getting ready to get that work from the Creed brothers. Get the fuck out of here, man. That's that bullshit, dude. That's the shit I don't like.
I like funny stuff.
I like funny stuff too.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
You don't like funny stuff. You don't like funny stuff at all.
That's not funny. That's not funny to me.
Name something funny that you like.
Impact to me was comedy and still is Comedy Central. Swingers Palace this year and fucking what was it? Something House last year when it was in the middle of the pandemic. I thought they did excellent work, and I can't think of what it was.
Sounds hilarious.
Oh, whatever, motherfucker. He was about to say you don't even watch.
No, I don't, man. I watch Dune.
I got 5 hours to commit to movies. I'm watching wrestling.
So, but yeah, they're Jacket Time. They're very impressive in the ring, though. Of course, they fucking rule, right?
I'm not disagreeing with that.
And I like the Creed brothers too. I thought the Creed brothers were good too as a new part of Diamond Mine.
Yeah, they'll be one of the next tag team champions here in a little bit.
Let's keep it rolling. Raquel Gonzalez comes out, calls out Dakota Kai. Dakota Kai comes out. Cora Jade beats up Dakota Kai. I just don't care about this segment.
A little convoluted for my taste. Let's just, stick to the script, motherfuckers. Raquel Gonzalez wants a piece of fucking Manny Rose. But
that's the thing about NXT 2.0. It's like, how many people can we fit into every single fucking segment? And this
not even segment, every single
this
show.
This used to be my problem with AEW, and AEW seems to have gotten a little better with it. Like there's less schmazes.
Only one I can think of on Wednesday.
Yeah. So whatever. I don't think very much about Raquel Gonzalez. I know she's a former champ. I just don't.
Just green. She needs to stay in NXT for a while. Now how you need to do it, figure that shit out.
And then there's a couple. I mean, it's so character driven. We have Chase University, which is kind of like a knockoff of the Brian Myers thing on Impact, where he's
the learning tree.
Yeah. But I do think that the Chase guy, I forget.
Andre Chase.
I do think he's good at what he does, though.
to me, it's like hit or miss. There's times where I'm like, this shit is really fucking funny. On Wednesday, it was kind of like, it was kind of funny. I don't know. It's hit or miss for me. Last week for me was a miss.
I didn't even say my favorite part of the Jacket Time thing. Wade Barrett says that's the worst name for a tag team I've ever heard before. And Vic Joseph said, I don't know, the core with 2 R's is pretty bad too, which is really funny.
Oh,
can you name the people that were in the core?
Obviously, Wade Barrett, Heath Slater. The big black guy was Ezekiel Jackson.
Yep.
And then the fourth guy was Justin Gabriel.
Yep, that's right.
Nice.
I'm impressed. Guided. I have GYV there, and it makes me want to say guided by voices. Grizzled young veterans do the art of the scallywag, which is what.
Go ahead. I
don't have much to say about it.
I hated this fucking segment. It made me feel like, these guys aren't good enough heels. I mean, come on. They're heels to begin with. They know how to distract the referee. Come on, man. Y'all heels. Y'all don't get this shit?
Did you like Cameron Grimes and Duke Hudson's segment? Because Cameron Grimes got a little bit more serious. They need to put the belt on Cameron Grimes. That's what I think.
But that means you got to take it off with Carmelo Hayes and or Ciampa. Ciampa is basically primed again for Braun Breaker. That was kind of the underlying theme of NXT 2.0 this week, is how Braun Breaker is over in Europe with some of the head guys of NXT 2.0.
What do you think about
What do
you think of Elektra Lopez? What do you think about Elektra Lopez and Zion Quinn?
I think Zion Quinn needs to get some business and back off my woman before I have to fuck his little pretty ass up. Now,
that's your girl?
Amongst many. It is what it is. I mean,
she's thick.
I'm
saying that's a compliment.
Okay. Yes, sir. Okay.
Respectfully.
Yeah, of course.
Respectfully.
Of course. It is what it is. In wrestling terms, I don't necessarily care where this goes. It's going to be... It kind of gives 2.0 NXT a little bit of an edge. It makes it edgier, where like AEW, gets the curse. This is NXT 2.0's kind of like rebuttal against it. We'll throw some sexuality at your ass. Indy Hartwell, Dexter, now Elektra Lopez and Zion Quinn. I don't know. I don't pay too much money.
We had Pete Dunne versus Carmelo Hayes in the main event. Pete Dunne goes over. Pete Dunne hasn't lost in a long time. He has not lost a singles match in a year, except for when he was Pat McAfee's. I guess he was his heater.
I guess. I mean, for lack of a better term, somebody has to take the bounces for Pat McAfee.
I said last week that
he hasn't lost a singles match in a year,
except for the time that he lost.
Have they said that on commentary or no?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so.
But it's something that I read on Twitter, so it sounds true.
It could be.
I read it from a reputable source. I think his name was at Charlie Sheen 69084510. But I'm slowly becoming a big fan of Carmelo Hayes. I think that Carmelo Hayes has it.
No, he has it. There's no question about it. I think in ring, he has it. On the stick, he has it.
Yeah.
Charisma, he has it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of boxes that he can check.
Agreed.
I don't want Pete Dunne to be his fall guy. If you want to put Johnny Gargano out there, knock yourself out. If you want to put Dexter Lumis out there, as a non-Dexter Lumis guy, I can kind of see why you want to do that. That's okay too. Pete Dunne shouldn't be the fall guy for Carmelo Hayes. Pete Dunne should be chasing after Ciampa and or Braun Breaker.
Fair enough. NXT 2.0 chugs along. Let's get to the 3 count.
I'm just one man.
Jason, what's the 3 count?
We're going to dive into a little AEW to lead into our predictions. Rampage on Friday night opened up with Bryan Danielson versus Anthony Bowens. Max Caster, Jesus Christ, just too goddamn funny. Bryan Danielson ends up winning this match. Different than what he's won the other 7 matches beforehand. That to me was the biggest takeaway outside of Max Caster's rap. Any thoughts?
No, this match was just kind of there. I think Anthony Bowens gets better with every time. I thought he was better on Wednesday night than he was on Friday night, which is on Wednesday night he fought sorry, I should have had this ready. Oh, he fought Jungle Boy. I guess it wasn't as much as I thought from a Bryan Danielson match. I watched it, I liked it, but I tuned into Rampage for one segment and one segment only, and I'm waiting to get there.
Yep, and we're getting ready to talk about it right now. So obviously the next segment is CM Punk calling out Eddie Kingston. I said it on Twitter, watching this unfold in real time, I couldn't tell if this was a work or a shoot because lines, at least for my opinion, lines were starting to get a little blurred. I wasn't sure if Eddie Kingston was necessarily telling a whole truth, what was kayfabe, what wasn't. Ultimately, by the end, and this is only the first week of this feud even starting. I'm sorry, probably the second week. The first week was obviously, I'll see Eddie Kingston on Friday night, and then here's your Friday night. By the end of this segment, I was like, okay, you two motherfuckers need to get in the ring. I want to see this match. They did this so well because it felt so real, if that makes sense. I like boxing. I like MMA UFC or whatever the case may be. So for me, these are the confrontations I like to see so I can get invested in the fights. See Usman versus Kofi Covington. So at that point, these are the shit-talking segments I personally love, and I thought they just nailed this joke on the head.
It was a work of art. It was everything that I wanted to be, and I've watched it 3 times.
I watched it twice.
I watched it once when I got home Friday night, and I was in my cups. I watched it one time the next day because I was like, did I really just see what I thought I saw? And then I watched it once today before I came to Jason's. Just exactly what you want out of.
This is a Beefer Award candidate for promo of the year.
Eddie Kingston went head to head with, I don't know if he's the best talker of all time.
He's in the top 10. I'll go that far.
Yes, me too. He's
one of the best AEW has right now. Can we go that far?
Oh, for sure.
So now you got,
and those guys that seemed like they had legitimate beef. It seemed like they had so much legitimate beef that if it makes me the most jaded lover of wrestler, I love wrestling, but I'm jaded. I know when I'm but I thought
I was getting worked. Then I was like, no, I'm not.
Here's the thing, though.
No, I'm not. It just weighed me back and forth.
Here's the thing about guys like us that are in our 40s, guys like that have been watching wrestling forever. You want to get worked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I want to get worked. And I was like, wait a minute. Are these guys actually pissed at each other? Like, I really want to know everything that went into this segment. How much? What did they talk about beforehand?
Yeah.
For sure. And I'm sure there was a ton of truth to what both of them said.
Your story, your side, my side, the truth somewhere in the middle.
Right.
Maybe they embellished some things on either side. And honestly, I don't even give a shit. The fact that by the end, they had made a 2-week feud, dare I say, a must-see match on a loaded fucking card.
Loaded card, and it's probably the match that I want to see the most.
It's one of those matches I want to see the most because now you have Eddie Kingston and a guy that is what came in as a heel, and now it's just like that babyface you want to root for.
And I've said this before.
Versus CM Punk that's on the way up.
And I've said this before. When they're able to heat up a feud like this, it's not necessarily that I want to see shoot stuff happen. I want to see how they book it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because
the crowd had no idea what to do. By the way, this was in St. Louis. CM Punk said St. Louis 3 or 4 times. And man, St. Louisans love when you say St. Louis because that crowd popped every time. But that crowd was still on Eddie's side. I feel like they were still on Eddie's side.
Ultimately, I think by the end they were just like, Eddie, and that's what you want.
And he also had that Players Tribune article this week. That
shit was real.
Yes.
Okay,
for sure.
I read that shit twice. That shit was real. That's more so of a reason why you can really start getting behind Eddie Kingston as the character, because that article plus this promo makes him just seem much more sympathetic.
There was a couple things that Eddie said during that promo. When he said, nobody wants to say it back there, but nobody wants you here.
Uh-oh.
I bet that's true to a certain extent.
Because CM Punk's going to push other guys back. Daniel Bryan's is going to push other guys back. Right. And then that's kind of the reason why I'm like, okay, we don't need to sign it. If you're AEW, you can just stop signing motherfuckers.
The other thing he said that I loved was when Punk was getting ready to walk out of the ring, and Kingston said, listen, I'm not worried about winning or losing. He's like, I'm just going to beat your ass. And when I do me a favor, take another 7 years off. And that's when Punk headbutted him.
That headbutt was Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle.
Popped me.
When Kurt Angle came to TNA the first time, and that headbutt was like the headbutt heard around the world, and it was like, oh shit, Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle getting ready to wrestle. It's not to that same extent, but I mean, once that headbutt happened, it was game on. I'm like, oh
just
shit.
Just a tremendous segment.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously,
so well done.
Like, if you came to me and said, would you rather watch this segment or the Super Bowl next year? I'd be like,
who's in the Super Bowl?
Are the Rams in it?
I need, we need to put some shit out there.
Does
who's
this mean
in the
I
Super
could
Bowl?
just skip a party and just sleep? Just kind of watch it on my couch?
Is somebody getting ready to get that work? Because if so, I'm watching Punk versus Eddie Kingston. And this is what wrestling to me is all about. The difference between these two guys, between AEW and WWE, because you say this all the time, guys can get heated up. AEW did it right, and it took 2 weeks. WWE could probably have the same problem. It would take 2 months.
There's just I've been accused at the bar of being an AEW shill or AEW mark, but
at the bar too?
I was thinking about this on the way over
Usually
here.
It just happens here.
No, I was thinking about this. Yeah, at the bar. I was thinking about this on the way over here. And I was like, am I just so anti-WWE that I'm giving AEW too much credit? Or do I look forward to AEW Dynamite so much more than WWE every single week? And like, is it actually in me? You know what I mean? Mm. And the answer is, it's actually in me. AEW fucking rules. And you know what? We can move off of this, and we can talk about Adam Cole. We can talk about Adam Cole versus John Silver.
Yeah.
Which John Silver, he poses a lot after his moves, which is kind of a heelish thing to do. He might be a better heel someday than he is a babyface. But this match was really good. This match was really good.
It was good in the sense that you had the crowd being a hot crowd to begin with. This was your main event, obviously.
I mean, that makes a huge difference, but the reason that WWE crowds aren't hot crowds is because WWE hasn't given those crowds any reason to be hot.
No, I won't say that.
They go there and they buy their big ass Dr. Peppers and they buy their fucking popcorns and they fucking sit there and they wait for their guy to come in, do the fucking finisher, and there's little kids there. This AEW's for adults.
I will agree with that. AEW is, as a single man, I would glad that I wouldn't have to have my kids be like, oh, let's go do an AEW show. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, what are they getting ready to say? I'll just say this. The biggest difference to me between, once again, WWE and AEW is this Adam Cole and John Silver match. This is, to me...
Baby.
Thank you. This, to me, is kind of like where Liv Morgan is stepping to the plate against Becky Lynch. You know how this shit's going to unfold. how do we get from point A to point B? This shit on Rampage was a good match where John Silver had his moments. Maybe looked like he had Adam Cole. The concerto from last week's Dynamite was the kind of a spillover to this week's Rampage. So now that's where I was, it's connecting the dots. WWE does dare I say, a poor job of connecting the dots. You wouldn't be able to do Liv Morgan versus Becky unless Becky was like, oh, wait, remember this? And then they showed this clip or whatever the case may be. AEW does things long-term better. WWE does short-term better. They want to make sure they get the casual. No, seriously.
No,
check
AEW does both better.
WWE does short-term better because every week you see a clip of this is what happened last week. So it's always for the casual fan. If you're just jumping in for the first time.
I'll say this. I can fly through Raw and SmackDown in an hour and be fine.
But you're not the casual fan, though. You know what's happening. If you just jumped into...
Would you say I'm an expert fan?
More so than most.
That's nice to hear.
I ain't saying you smarter than me, but you more so than most. Hey, man, there's very few people I say they're smarter than me, so don't feel bad.
I tell you what, sometimes I don't get onto my wrestling Twitter too much because I try to stay off of the dirt sheets until I get to the podcast, and I don't like knowing the backstage stuff because I know that you and Zach have it covered. So I kind of stay off my wrestling podcast a lot, or my wrestling Twitter a lot. But when I get onto my wrestling Twitter, the first thing is always BFR JCB, and you're like, it's Miro versus, and it's always these people. I'm like, what the fuck is he watching? Like, what fucking, what's he watching?
I watch it all, baby.
What promotion is Jason watching with these people that I've never heard of?
Dude, that's what I say. I had somebody up my ass today who was kind of getting too serious. Like, hey, easy, big fella, easy. Look, for me, and I'll just speak for myself on this one.
Yeah, just speak for yourself.
I watch it all because I like it all, okay? There's certain things I like more than others. New Japan being number one versus anything else on normal, regular TV. From that point on, there's like MLW. I'm trying to catch up on that. There's certain people I like on MLW. Lee Moriarty, just because we're talking about AEW. Him and Bobby Fish, I thought had a really good match on MLW TV. So that's why I wanted to see, especially the youth. When the ROH shuts down and now you have this kind of youth movement throughout the indies, this is a good time to really watch guys develop. Actually, quiet as it's kept. I was thinking to myself when 2022 comes around, when Ring of Honor goes away, GCW, Game Changer Wrestling, them motherfuckers might have to get some attention from your boy over here. Apart from the broken glass and, possibly stabbing somebody in the neck, I think I could actually watch that shit for a little bit.
All right, I stopped listening a long time ago. So on Dynamite, we had Bryan Danielson versus Rocky Romero making his second AEW appearance. This is exactly what you would want out of these two pros. They've been fighting. They've been wrestling against each other for 20 minutes. For 20 years. They got 10 minutes. This was a fun match.
If anything, my takeaway from it was the Okada, I guess, mention, not even mention, but, best friends and, Chris Statlander. This little faction is now part of Chaos. And I had said this on Twitter, and this is kind of, here's my life. I said, if any of the three guys outside of Excalibur's the one guy I said if you had to name all the Chaos members, Excalibur's the one guy I expect to be able to do it. JR, Tony, not so much. Everybody gets Okada, and then from there, you got to start, naming these jokers
You don't
off.
think JR can name the Chaos members?
Fuck no, motherfucker. So now, of course, I got random joker coming over here who's like, oh, JR and, Tony can do this. I'm like, wait, hang on. No,
sure.
No, just because they're saying Chaos doesn't mean that they can name all these jokers. I watch New Japan regularly. I can't name the Chaos members.
Sure.
I'm damn sure know that JR can't do it. Tony, maybe. I'll give him a little more credit. He might get 2 or 3 more than JR can. Get the fuck out of here.
All right, we're going to skip the Inner Circle America's Top Team part because I'm going to have a lot to say about that in predictions.
Okay.
Let's go to Jungle Boy versus Anthony Bowens and Max Caster. Good match. Like I said, I like Anthony Bowens more and more every time I see him. Max Caster for me has real heat. It's not go away heat.
No,
I fucking hate him.
Okay, I love his ass, man. That motherfucker just makes me. I'm sorry, he just makes me giggle. This is where to me.
Hold on, we're having a
quick shot for 30 seconds.
No technical difficulties.
Mm-hmm. This is where I have the smaller shot, by the way. This is where you're saying I don't like comedy and wrestling. To me, this is comedy and wrestling. I don't take what Max Caster says seriously. Sure. When he threw, what was it, John Laurinaitis underneath the bus on Rampage on Friday night? That shit to me was funny. Okay, same concept right here. Jungle Boy stutters on his promos. Motherfucker, I stuttered through a whole goddamn podcast. That shit just happens. He takes...
I meant to talk to you about that.
It's, hook by phonics or just, smoke a lot less before we do the podcast. Caster takes your weaknesses and uses them against you. That's 8 Mile type shit. That's MJF type shit. That's why I like.
Just not that funny,
dude.
though.
I'm sorry. That's Comedy Central.
I mean, he's fine. I like Anthony Bowens though.
Anthony Bowens, I think, is the better wrestler between the two.
Of course,
but he doesn't have the Max Caster charisma. That's why I think together they're a really good tag team.
Fair enough. Bobby Fish comes out and attacks Jungle Boy afterwards. Christian Cage and Luchasaurus come out and chase Bobby Fish off. The next thing that we see is the Super Click backstage, which is Adam Cole. Well, it wasn't all of them, but it was Cole, the Young Bucks, and then Bobby Fish comes up. One of the Jacksons says,
Matt,
it's not disputed. This is the era of the, which I would expect.
I want you to do that. No, that's okay. Case in point, it's small comedy, but to me, that's still comedy. That to me made me pop immediately.
Well, that's not comedy, though. I mean, that's just...
That to me is comedy.
Okay, all right. I mean, I thought it was funny, but it's not a comedy match or a comedy...
It's not a segment, but that one line was funnier than anything else they said throughout that whole segment.
Agreed. So, I don't know what we're doing here. We could have an Undisputed Era reunion sooner rather than later in AEW. Don't know if it's happening. I'm just throwing it out there. It could happen. This is what talking about wrestling is, Jason. It's fun if we can talk about what could happen. There's
Kevin Owens, Bobby Fish already over there. Kevin Owens, Kyle O'Reilly up for contract here in a little bit.
I'm going to say this again. AEW is clicking on all cylinders. There is very little that they do that I don't like. And the second half of this AEW Dynamite is going to prove my point. Because next up, we had Wardlaw versus Wheeler Yuta, which was fine. Wheeler Yuta feels like he's just kind of holding...
this motherfucker was like, I'm in chaos on Twitter. I'm like... Oh my god damn.
Wheeler Yuta feels like he's taking...
Just happened to be here.
What's his face's name, or what's his face's place in Best Friends until...
Trent Beretta.
Yeah, Trent Beretta until he comes back. Fine, Matt. Fine, Matt. Sure. Then we get Leo Rush and Dante Martin versus Matt Sydal and Moriarty is first name? Lee Moriarty. Man, how many people out there are named Lee? It's like, I don't know a lot of people named Lee. Do you?
My accountant is named Lee, so yeah. I know
Your
at least
accountant?
Two. Yeah.
His name is Lee?
Yes, sir.
what you think about this match.
The two biggest takeaways I take, well, actually three. Lio Rush, I wish he would just figure out whether he wants to just, retire or wrestle. If he wants to wrestle, the sky's the limit. Two, when Darius comes back, that's where I think if my guess is that Lio Rush and Dante Martin go on a string of wins and they start rising up the ranks, and then Darius comes back, that's where the rubber's going to meet the road, so to speak. Dante Martin's going to have to make a decision on what he wants to do in kayfabe. I think that's going to be something to be said. The third thing I said, and I said it on Twitter, I know there's going to be people that are saying that, they want people of color to be a champion, whether it's the TNT champion or the World Heavyweight champion. I'll just say this. It's not going to happen right away. There's a lot of guys that are in the pike that are being developed into a possible champion. Powerhouse Hobbs, and then the two guys you had here, Dante Martin and Lee Moriarty. I'm not saying that any of them are going to be world champions. I'm not calling that shot. But I'm saying at some point, all three of them are going to be singles champions. You're just going to have to sit back and wait patiently and let the stories unfold. That's the problem, quote unquote, the problem with bringing in Punk, Bryan Danielson, guys that are legitimately Adam Cole, baby, legitimately superstars currently right now. The youth is going to have to take a step back. It's going to ultimately, knock on wood, work out for everybody. But right now, Dante Martin's, Lee Moriarty is going to have to take a step back so Adam Cole, babies, and Daniel Bryanson can take over and, build this thing up for everybody else.
All right. I also have three things that I want to say after watching this match. The first one being, I think that AEW should have a cruiserweight title.
I was thinking that too, but
they have enough guys that are small enough that are. God, listen, I've always said I'm a fan of more belts, not less belts, because matches should mean something, and a belt makes it mean something. If this would have been for, even if this would have been for a number one contendership, I would have watched it closer than I did, and I watched it pretty close. Second thing being, Dante Martin and Lee Moriarty led off this match, and they are certainly two talented guys. Dante Martin is 20 years old.
Jesus.
We can give him the benefit of the doubt and say he's 21.
Yeah, go ahead. Give him a cocktail.
But they're clearly very talented guys who have no idea how to tell a story in the ring, because the first 3 minutes of this match with those two guys just doing, what FTR would call flippy stuff or whatever, it was
an athletic start to the match,
but it was also not very realistic, and it didn't look like guys that were trying to win a match.
No,
we're
trying to get the crowd.
The Lucha Brothers do flippy stuff all the time. The Lucha Brothers, every single match that you watch is you can't turn away. The third thing, and then when Lio Rush and Seidel got in there, it was
different.
It was like, okay, guys,
this is how
you do it. Hey, young guys, this is how you do it. And they told a story. They were slapping each other in the face and doing all sorts of fucking fun stuff.
Lio started that whole thing off when he walked over to the Moriarty corner and was like, look, and then Seidel, don't talk to him. And that's when it was a totally different
because he stole Dante Martin.
And that's where we got back on track. I totally agree with you. Yeah. I totally agree with what you're saying. It was literally two different stories.
The third thing is, a big criticism of AEW is that they have not been putting black wrestlers in a position of power. And I'll say this as a white guy. Do you want black wrestlers put into higher positions on the card if they're not ready to be there yet?
Fuck no. That's silly to me.
I know, but I hear this criticism all the time from
Powerhouse Hobbs, Moriarty,
fucking Lio Rush, fucking Dante Martin, Ricky Starks,
Scorpio Sky. These are the names that you're going to throw out there, and I get that. But I mean, okay, Scorpio Sky was maybe the one. That's the one I want to say if any of the guys that I named,
he could be a main eventer,
right,
for sure.
But
No
he's
doubt.
apparently he's in his mid to late 30s. Okay, I get that. Now, if you take him away, now you got guys that are in their early to mid 20s, and now this is the kind of an improving ground. I need to see a little something before. If I'm Tony Khan, I need to go see a little something before.
That's the way that wrestling works, though. Like it's not that they have to prove themselves to the crowd or prove themselves to the booker. They also have to prove themselves to the other guys working with them,
because
or else you're going to get all sorts of resentment. And this comes from somebody, like I said, we're not journalists. We're also not wrestlers. But
in this case, it takes two to tango. And if you're gonna sabotage moves or not make me look good or not make this match look good, therein lies the bigger issue.
Dante Martin is an extreme example, but Dante Martin is an incredibly talented wrestler with tons of potential and tons of upside. But if you were to put him in a situation where he would have to carry a promo or carry a main event match or carry a 20-minute match, he would be unable to do it.
And then that's how you lose the casuals.
Now, I also said that Scorpio Sky could definitely do that.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah. If you wanted to do him as the TNT champion, no problem with that.
But they also have to make money.
Without question.
And they also have other people of color that are in high position spots. They're not necessarily black, but they're Hispanic.
Right. So now we're talking, that's a whole nother can of worms to begin with. So, I mean, look, that's what I'm saying. I get it. As somebody that's dark like me, I want people that look like me to be the champion. Part of the reason I love Bobby Lashley as the champion, because he looked like me. We were, outside the muscle tone, we basically kind of look like each other. That being said,
I've always said that to people.
I can't sit up here and say for like Santana Ortiz. I've been banging that drum for a hot minute.
Lucha Brothers.
Okay.
Andrade.
Okay. This is where I can't be mad at anybody for rooting for people that look like them.
Plus, does Tony Khan seem like the type of guy that's holding black wrestlers back because he likes, Tony Khan is Persian.
Right.
Is he pushing Persian wrestlers? I don't think so.
See, you're making too much sense now. Now you get into the WWE portion of the program.
It seems like an unfair criticism. And listen, I understand that I'm a white guy saying this,
but you see the bigger picture. It's not like we're trying to push a narrative for AEW or WWE.
You can't have Powerhouse Hobbs in the main event.
Not right now. Hell no.
You can't do it because it's a work rate company, right, and they have work rate heavyweight matches.
And so if this, so all of a sudden,
and that's not against black guys, that's against Powerhouse Hobbs.
And ultimately that's it's not a knock against the color. It's just that he's not ready.
Right.
You're going to sit up here, if you're going to shell out $50 of your own money, are you going to tell me you'd rather do it to see Powerhouse Hobbs versus Kenny Omega or Adam Page versus Kenny Omega?
Right. But the thing is, if Powerhouse Hobbs keeps having matches against CM Punk,
check,
and keeps having matches against Ricky Starks or Brian Cage,
starts to gets better and better.
Once
and has these
white guys
matches,
can teach him to assimilate. Just kidding. That's a joke.
You ain't shit.
All right, let's move on. Miro had one of my favorite promos of all time. It ended with him saying to Bryan Danielson, "Just make sure to say goodbye to your wife." And then there was dramatic music, and he goes, "So I can say hello to mine." God damn.
Okay.
I watched it 5 times.
Here we go. I'm not going to sit here and say that you were completely correct, because I had to make a little bit of admission that you were right about.
Oh, it's got to be about me. Okay.
No, it always is. You're the host.
Sure.
I don't know where this Miro is coming from, but I fucking love it.
It's incredible.
I love it.
He's incredible. He calls out God and he talks about his wife in every promo and he never winks at the camera. It's never like he's like in on the joke.
No,
you know,
this is real.
He is real.
Okay,
it is my favorite.
Why is God against me when Daniel Bryanson and I have faulty fucking necks?
Yes, my favorite thing in the world is when artists can meld together the melancholy and the absurd. And when fucking Miro, it's so absurd that he's calling God out during his promos and also talking about his wife and how much he wants to,
it's all over the place.
He doesn't even say he wants to fuck her or anything.
Well, I'm just assuming he does.
Well, yeah, sure. I want to fuck his wife also.
But, me too. Okay, then that being said, this Miro is different than Rusev, and that's once again.
Yeah, but it was always there, though. It was always there. Just saying, it was always there.
No, it was always there. But when you clamp somebody down, you can't get the. This is what I think. What Rusev ultimately wanted to be, and now we're starting to really get it.
Oh, he's spectacular.
Yeah, without question.
You don't have to tell me I'm right because I don't need it. But you can just say that Miro is awesome.
Miro is awesome, and I cannot wait for fucking Saturday night.
You know what else was awesome? Was Pac versus Dax Harwood in a one-on-one match. Who the fuck?
This guy. I will say, I'll raise my hand.
Why did they let that happen on a fucking Dynamite? Like, that was spectacular, though.
This is where you're
that brainbuster off the top rope.
Ooh.
I thought he was dead.
I'm like, wait a minute. He's getting up. Well, goddamn. Dax Harwood is the better singles guy.
He's getting up.
Yeah, he's getting up. He's the better singles guy between the FTR guys, him and Cash Wheeler. This is the match. It was a little better than I thought, but I still had high expectations because Dax Harwood can go in ring.
That could have been a pay-per-view match, though. Give it another 3 minutes. That could have been a pay-per-view match. It would have been
like the pay-per-view match on WWE.
This is what I'm talking though. With AEW Dynamite, though, that was just a throwaway match on Raw. If you had these guys going in the pay-per-view that were going to have a tag team match, and you decided to have one guy from one tag team, the other guy from another tag team, and they were supposed to have a match, it wouldn't be anything like this. This was 11 minutes of fucking awesomeness.
Just go. We're going to just hit the flag and just run real fast.
The only thing that didn't happen was Pac didn't hit the Black Arrow.
That's fine. I don't even care at that point.
They're saving that.
Yeah, I don't even want that at this point.
Then Cody and the Lucha Brothers come down. Cody has to come down separate from everybody else. I don't know how he doesn't think he's a heel at this point. Like, it's got to be meta at this point, right?
No, he really does not think he's a heel, and God bless you for it.
He's the only guy that comes through the crowd. Everybody else comes down the ramp. Right. He comes down to the crowd.
Right. Ultimately, I think Arn Anderson flips on him, and that's where things start to really get interesting.
And then the final segment was the contract signing between Omega and Paige. You know, I don't want to do recency bias. I don't want to say this is my favorite contract signing of all time. This contract signing fucking ruled. Did it not fucking rule? It was two guys cutting promos on each other that seemed real. That, you know, he kind of delved into work shoot territory for a minute, but didn't go too far into the shoot part. And then you see the cameraman go in front. And you're like, well, you don't see that very often, but somebody fucked up.
Right.
But then the cameraman hits Adam Page with it. And
Who's
it's Don
that?
Callis, and he's got a fake goatee on. I fucking loved it.
That's, I think, is the one thing that I personally was missing was, like, you know, there's already a built-in story. Okay, so you have me to begin with. But where's the one thing that I want to see that I need to have, like, oh, fuck you? That was Don Callis. He, you know, obviously he, you know, hits Paige over the head.
He's the best.
Heyman's the best. You have all kinds of this crazy shit going on, and
Callis is better. Callis is better right now. Sorry. In this moment, November 11th, 2021, Callis is better than Heyman.
Okay, I'm going to try to finish my thought, and I'm going to come back to this in like 30 seconds. The two things I took away from this promo at the end where Kenny is like, okay, I win big matches. I win big matches. I win big matches. Hangman on the other side is like, I've gotten over that hump where my insecurities won't hold me down anymore. And now I'm at the best of the best. So you got the two biggest guys at the best of the best. We're going to see what happens. We're going to give our predictions in like 30 seconds. I'm going to say this.
Say it.
I don't think there is anybody, and maybe Don Callis can do it, and I haven't seen it. I have not been a Roman Reigns fan since this podcast has started. 231 episodes. It took Paul Heyman to get me to be a Roman Reigns fan. Take it for what it's worth.
Okay. This segment ruled.
I'm not good. Okay.
I didn't turn into a Heyman thing. I'm just saying Don Callis is great.
Signing the contract in blood.
I like the ridiculous. The signing of the contract in blood.
Okay,
it was so fucking good.
That's the shit that you want to see because now that's your heat. That's where Don Callis is missed. This feud was going along fine, but now Don Callis is back. By the time Saturday night is coming on, we're going to want to see blood.
Yes, we're going to want to see blood. Oh, yeah.
It almost feels like I should jump in on this motherfucker.
That's some new music. That is music from Jason's other podcast that I haven't been invited to yet. What's it called?
I know the owner too. It's shout out to my boy Joey Bernstein. Good looking on this. I got 2 or 3 of these hidden behind there somewhere. So,
and where can you find I Know the Owner too?
Just same way you can find Band from Ringside. It's any place you want to go on iTunes, iOS, Android. Put I Don't Know the Owner too. It will pop up. You'll see a little guy with holding up a little tray. It'll be white, but I'm a black man, so that way you got that. You can go from there.
You're what?
I think am I black? Am I black?
Black enough.
Oh shit! I gotta go get beer. So start this shit, and I'll be right back.
Let's get to those predictions. So I'm gonna start with one that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. That's happening, but it's Pac and Cody Rhodes versus Malachi Black and Andrade El Idolo. Now, I've been watching Narco Season 3, so that's probably a pretty good Mexican accent that I just did. Andrade El Idolo. By the way, do you guys watch Narcos?
I haven't watched that yet.
It fucking rules. It's better than it has any business being. I'm on Season 6. There was 3 Colombia seasons, 3 Mexico seasons. They kind of overlap. It's really fucking good.
What channel is this shit on? FX?
Netflix.
Okay. That's why it's got 6 seasons. All right, go ahead.
So Pac and Cody versus Malachi Black and Andrade. I'm going to take the heels here. Who you got, Jason?
I agree with you on both assessments. Not sure why we're having this match. It feels like this is the 10th or 11th match we've added to this now. Yeah, I'm going with the heels on this one. I mean, outside the fact that Cody Rhodes continues to get booed, which blows my fucking mind, I think it's probably best to keep the heels strong, being Andrade and Malachi Black. That way, when things start moving forward, you have stronger heels to oppose anybody that's the champion at that point.
Okay, the pre-show is Nyla Rose and Jamie Hayter versus Shida and Thunder Rosa. Who do you have?
Not a big huge fan of the Nyla Rose Jamie Hayter combination because obviously we're kind of mixing the match in, I guess, factions for lack of a better term. I'm gonna go with the baby faces on this one. Shida needs a little push. I'm sorry, I forgot who she does tag team partner
Thunder
was.
Rosa.
Okay, enough said. Thunder Rosa doesn't need much of anything. I mean, she's a superstar as it stands, so I'm going to take the babyface on this one.
So the Thunder Rosa, we have Tay Conti versus Britt Baker coming up, but Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker is obviously the match that everyone wants to see. The Tay Conti Britt Baker match is, it'll be cool, but
it's a bridge match to where I think we want to go.
Which is why I'm taking Shida and Rosa. Sorry, you took the other ones?
No, I took Shida and Rosa as well.
Oh, shit. Okay.
It's all right.
Well, let's go to Britt Baker and Tay Conti because I think I know where you're going here. I'm going Britt Baker. Not much to say about this one. There's no reason why Tay Conti would take the belt off of Britt Baker at this point.
I don't know if I said it on the pod or not, but I'll say it now. I'm a little disappointed with the Britt Baker title run, at least with quality of matches. I guess memorable type moments when it comes to Britt Baker's title run. Britt Baker ultimately, I think, wins, but I think the problem with this, at least in my opinion, is the TBS title tournament has kind of taking a little heat of where we were talking about Big E earlier, where you have 2 or 3 guys going after Big E. It feels like it's just now back to being one with Britt Baker. And I think ultimately, you need multiple people going after the bigger title, the women's title versus the TBS title, but neither here nor there.
Taking Britt Baker.
Yes.
All right. Christian and the Jurassic Express versus the Young Bucks and Adam Cole, baby.
See, that needs to be one of the next drops.
Let me go first here. I mean,
You're thinking about this that hard?
Nah, I'm going the heels.
Yeah. Double down. I was getting ready to say, look, the good part about like I said about Rampage, and somebody was kind of arguing about this with me on Twitter. Adam Cole showed signs of the concerto in that that Friday night match versus John Silver. Mm-hmm. He didn't just keep piling offense on. When he got a good offensive move, he had to stop, holding his head. So I mean, that to me was like the callback to the concerto. Ultimately, no disrespect to Christian Cage or the Jurassic Express, the receipt has to be given. The bigger story is the Super Click and where they're going to go. Jungle Boy will get there ultimately, but I think Super Click wins. It should be brutal. I'm looking forward to this motherfucker.
Who's your boy that made this beat?
Joey Bernstein.
That's good.
He's, like I said, he's got multiple in his pocket. Go see him on Instagram. Shit.
Well, find it here. Do you have your phone?
Actually, I do.
Yeah, find it so we can shout it out. Before the segment's done. Okay, so let's get in some fun ones. Because these are ones that those other ones seem a little obvious. The rest of them don't seem as obvious. So let's start with Lucha Brothers versus FTR for the tag team belts. I'll let you go first.
FTR obviously has the AAA titles. Lucha Brothers have the AEW championships and is for the AEW titles. I would be really, I would just say disappointed. I guess that's the word I would put in the sentence if this Lucha Brothers title reign end right here. I get it. FTR has links to other teams. I'm ultimately waiting for Santana Ortiz to be the team to beat the Lucha Brothers. So I'm going to take the Lucha Brothers to retain. I don't think this is a slam dunk. I would not be surprised if FTR won this just because FTR is a good team and they have, a part of that tag team echelon. Like I said, it's the first fucking time this is the first time that they being the Lucha Brothers have won defended the title since this knockdown drag out against the Bucks. Maybe the one in between on a rampage or whatever. But this is the first time since the a pay-per-view. I'm going to take the Lucha Brothers to retain.
I'm taking the Lucha Brothers. Also, I thought about taking FTR just because them having the AAA and but it doesn't seem like it's time for them to hold both.
Not yet.
And I think they're going to drop the AAA probably pretty soon.
Sooner versus later, somebody that we haven't seen yet. And that's fine.
That's a match I'm looking forward to.
Thank you.
Obviously. Lucha Brothers Lucha Brothers.
It's going to be a spot fest, and that's fucking fine. Okay?
Well, it's not necessarily going to be a spot fest, but it's going to be a match where it's them versus guys who are very grounded, and they're going to be allowed to...
A dichotomy of styles. I can go with that, too.
It's a mesh of styles, I guess. Let's go Inner Circle versus America's Top Team. So, this is what I wanted to talk about.
I was about to say, it's going to go for a little bit.
But this is what I wanted to talk about when we were talking about Dynamite, and I wanted to skip past it because
you got some beef about this, apparently.
America's Top Team said that it was their goal to make Dan Lambert pin Chris Jericho. But on Dynamite, they wanted Dan Lambert to tap out Jericho, and Dan Lambert put him in the walls of Jericho and then called it the Boston Crab and said the real Rocky Johnson did this in 1975.
I was like, uh-oh.
Loved it. Loved it.
You motherfuckers getting ready to really piss motherfuckers off.
I love Dan Lambert. And for that reason alone, I'm going to take Inner Circle because there's no way that Dan Lambert is going to pin Chris Jericho.
So let's get this straight. We're going to double down on this.
Yeah, yeah.
This is anti-WWE, what WWE would usually want to do.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
But who are you taking?
I'm going to take the Inner Circle on this one. I just think this is one of those matches where...
That's who I took.
Oh, you took the Inner Circle. Okay, I thought you took American Top Team.
No, I'm saying that America's Top Team got over on Dynamite, which means the Inner Circle will get over.
Yeah.
Ultimately. Listen, Jericho winning is the ultimate feel-good match on a card. Yeah, it is.
Not on this card. Not on this card.
Okay, but you're taking them anyway?
I'm going to take them anyway, but it's not the feel-good story. Not the ultimate feel-good story.
People like Jericho. People want Jericho to go over.
But people like somebody else a little bit more.
Oh, well, I can't wait to find out who this is. Let's go to...
You should know who it is.
Bryan Danielson versus Miro. So, Bryan Danielson versus Miro. Okay, so Bryan Danielson wins. That doesn't reflect. That's not. It doesn't make it obvious.
Stop deflecting.
Hold on. If Bryan Danielson wins,
just pick him and be done with it.
It doesn't make the main event any more obvious. If Miro wins, if Miro wins, it makes the main event a little bit more obvious.
And
right?
That was my question last week. The winner of this match make the winner of the main event more obvious?
Yes, it does. If it's Bryan Danielson, it could be either. Mm-hmm. Because they can have a face versus face. They can have a Bryan Danielson versus...
In this scenario, yeah, you could.
Paige match.
Yeah, for sure. You can have Daniel Bryanson versus Adam or Kenny Omega, and you've already planted those seeds to begin with. So what you gonna do?
I'm taking Bryan Danielson.
Me too.
It's just
I can't. It's hard for me to sit here and say that, and I'm going to talk about this a little more here in a little bit.
I would love it if Miro won.
Yeah,
but I can't see Miro versus Omega.
I can, but I think I know who wins. And I think Omega. That's kind of the problem. Okay. Yeah. And I think that's kind of the problem.
But I could see Hangman Page winning and being a transitional champion and Bryan Danielson taking it off of him in a week or two. Mm-mm. No? You can't?
No. And I'll say the reasons why here in a little bit. Because
all right. Well, let's just go to Omega Page right now.
Okay. Because that's basically the the crux of everything. That, at least what I'm talking about.
All right, who you got?
I got Hangman Page. I think it finally actually happens.
I already wrote it down.
Okay.
You haven't been watching, but I wrote it down a long time ago, so I couldn't be accused of piggybacking on it. I have Paige
I've
also.
been beating this drum for a hot minute. To me, now that I came into this podcast thinking this one thing. If they didn't pull the trigger on Hangman Page, it's going to be a problem because now you allow people to think that it's more like WWE. You can't just pull the trigger when this shit is hot.
No, it's time to put the belt on Paige.
It's really been time.
It's been almost a year since Omega's had the belt.
All right, so now, along with story time purposes,
we're agreeing, but we're yelling at each other.
Okay, but that's what we do. The bottom line on this one is that it is time. As I'm a little disappointed with the Kenny Omega run as champion, but it is time.
That's
Hangman Page needs to win.
Damn near offensive.
No, I can hold that for another time.
We've agreed on every single one.
Have we?
Yes.
That's a damn shame.
All right.
But yeah, I think Paige wins this. If they don't, then you run the risk of, guys saying that it's WWE. You don't give them what they want. You don't pay off the long-term storyline. That to me is the bigger thing. This is a long-term storyline issue.
All right, I'm covering this up. I already wrote down my Darby Allin versus MJF match.
Okay.
Now, are you looking forward to this match?
Yeah, because I think this is going to be a 3-part match, and the third part is going to be where one or the other holds the title. I'm going with MJF. If you want to hold me down to prediction, I'm going with MJF holds the title, and that'll be a third match. The first match, this one, I'm going to go MJF on this first match. I'm not sure why I like MJF on this one. It kind of feels right. If Darby Allin wins, it makes sense too. Ultimately, I think MJF takes the title off of Hangman Page. So if Darby Allin wins this one right away, that's why I think he wins this one, because ultimately MJF takes it off of Page, and it's not going to happen right away.
All right.
The great part about, I'll say this real quick, the great part about AEW champions, world champions, is they don't have short reigns. It's long reigns. If Page wins, it's going to be a hot minute before he drops it.
I had MJF because MJF just lost to Jericho, and there is no reason why MJF should lose 2 high-profile matches in a row. In fact, this is Bill Vegas' lock of the week. Lock of the week.
If you got Caesar's sports book, is it?
Bet the other way. Bet the other way.
See, they're saying the lock of the week then.
No, I'm saying I'm always wrong, but I'm taking this as my lock of the week. So we've agreed on every single one, which is bullshit.
Yeah, this is why
we need surprising. We need Zach to come in here and just be wrong about some stuff.
No, honestly, I think it's a little surprising. I really think that the Paige thing is the one prediction I think is the one that is the lock. If I'm going to say I have a lock of the weekend, that to me is the lock.
I mean, Britt Baker's a lock.
Britt Baker should be a lock because you have Thunder Rosa on deck somewhere down the line.
So the next match is Punk versus Eddie Kingston. And I have not made my decision about this, but I will go first.
Okay.
Now let me talk through this, okay?
By all means.
Punk is obviously there. Okay, so this is the best thing about this feud, is that this is the first feud that Punk has been there for that actually has some juice behind it.
For sure.
And Punk's face, when he was furious at Eddie Kingston the other night about jumping him, or after he headbutted him, was incredible. Like, this looks
good. Something like I've seen it at a bar downtown somewhere before.
It's good pro wrestling. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if they had another match after this, but AEW doesn't really do that. They really haven't had any It's not the WWE model where they have 3 pay-per-views in a row.
Right.
It's not that. That being said, I want to do it so bad, but I'm always wrong all the time.
Be scared.
I'm taking Eddie Kingston.
Good man. I'm going to take CM Punk.
You motherfucker. You fucking bitch.
Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on. Good. I expect this to be a knockdown, drag out.
I can't believe you did that to
man.
me.
Come
I can't believe you did that to me.
Come on. I won't say it's easy speasy. It could be lock of the week. I won't be that disrespectful.
This is such a boring, we didn't disagree on anything.
I know. Trust me. I get it. I'm not necessarily mad that we didn't disagree with everything. I'll just say this. This is a bridge to what ultimately is going to happen. You're wearing the shirt. New Japan's getting ready to come here with Wrestle Kingdom here in a little bit. And I think some of these guys are going to have to go over to Japan. And like I said, we're going to talk about that in 30 seconds.
All right, let's talk about New Japan. Let's get to that 4 count. Shit. Let's get to that 4 count.
You got to switch the whole thing over.
Oh, shit. Well, just tell me about it. Just tell me about the 4 count.
New Japan actually is the 4 count. They had their end of the Power Struggle tour. I guess that was... Dates are all jacked up. But anyway, long story short, the biggest takeaway from the Power Struggle Tour is, number one, Okada wins versus Tama Tonga. And then in the main event, Shingo beats Zack Sabre Jr. So obviously you have the 2 guys in Japan with one as a great belt and the other as not so much of a great belt. I'll let you decide which is great and not so great. Okada and Shingo have decided to go after each other on night 1 of Wrestle Kingdom. For those who don't know, that's January 4 and 5. January 4, Wrestle Kingdom night 1. January 5, Wrestle Kingdom night 2, 2022. I'll just say this.
Say it.
I know there's 3 nights of Wrestle Kingdom, and we kind of figured, what? Why are they doing 3 nights? Why are they 3 nights? Blah blah blah. As I'm watching this shit unfold, I'm starting to think of, there's got to be at least 2 nights. If you want to throw a 3rd night out there, that's your choice. Well, I know Will Ospreay's getting a little bad rap lately.
Oh, but you know it is, right? They're trying to make their money back. And because they lost so much money during COVID.
Okay, but this is before.
But that's it.
Okay, hang on. For those who don't watch New Japan.
You don't get it.
No, you don't get it.
Oh!
You don't get it. Okay, first and foremost, starting with I guess it's the 29th of December, New Japan is going to open up, the entire, I guess, crowd to open shows. We're going to do max capacity, blah, blah, blah. That to me, I thought was one of the things that New Japan kind of lost, if you want to say lost anything in luster, is the fact that the fans couldn't get behind this shit. We had good matches, but the fans, I think, made them good versus great. That being said, if you want to play this like a WWE, we're talking about numbers, packing in numbers and making money back. I think the fact that they're doing I guess a little trial run with the Road to Tokyo Dome as a start to bringing fans back in, full fans back in, no seats, no social distancing, nothing of that. It's the New Japan that we know and love. Now I think we're going to have a problem because this is where I think New Japan is going to get back to being the promotion that I think I know and love, and I think that it's going to be hot again. If you do it right then at the 29th, You get that, you go build to Wrestle Kingdom nights 1 and 2, Shingo versus Okada. Then you can go. The winner has to deal with Will Ospreay. He's got a title claim to this shit. Ultimately, I think we're gonna get there. It's just when it happened, it was really weird because it didn't make sense. Now it's starting to make sense.
Excited to watch it. I wasn't able to watch it because I had stuff going on.
He's got a baby.
Baby, it was rolling over today. I mean, I'm telling you, she was rolling over today. I was trying to tell her, hey, let's watch Zack Sabre Jr. versus Shingo. And she was like, no. She was being such a fucking baby about it and then just tried to roll over a little bit. And then she did it.
Quick sidebar, when Kenta wins the U.S. title, he calls out CM Punk. So I guess the next takeaway from it is that Impact and AEW don't have a relationship anymore, but now New Japan and AEW still have this relationship.
Well, there's a New Japan storm coming. And everybody better buckle up.
And that's what ultimately I think that's the second takeaway from.
They mentioned Okada on AEW times this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
That you take that and you do what
and
you
if you
did
don't
beforehand.
know Okada, I'm not going to be one of these people that shames you and be like, well, you should know Okada already. Just go out and YouTube some of your Okada stuff or use Jason's password. Go into njpwworld.com and use Gary Payton 69. And that's his password.
I love Gary Payton. Just because I look like Gary Payton at this point. God bless that.
You ain't got the handles.
No, I do not.
And from ringside.
All right, we got some birthdays this week. Kalisto is 35. Albert, a.k.a.
Prince Albert?
Yeah, but remember what he was called when he had the Asian thing?
Fuck.
Tensai.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say it was going to take me a minute.
He's 49. La Parka, alive?
I think so.
I was just watching Narcos the other day.
Yes,
I think he's in that.
No,
you know
actually,
who is in Narcos this year? Is Bad Bunny.
Wait. Said Bad Bunny that basically kind of stole Night One's WrestleMania?
Yes. Bad Bunny is in Narcos Mexico season 3, and I just watched him waste like 4 or 5 dudes tons of people get killed in that show. That show fucking rules.
But Bad Bunny is wasting motherfuckers.
Oh yeah, he's good in it too. Like he's good.
I shouldn't roll my eyes like that because I rolled my eyes like that in the WrestleMania match.
Hey, Mr. Woke Ass.
Right.
Sunil Singh is 37. Can you tell the Singh brothers apart?
Hell no.
Didn't think so. Tanahashi is 45.
Let's say I'm quick.
Tanahashi is 45. Disco Inferno is 53. Leo Rush, 27. And
what?
Now,
no, he is not 27.
Yeah, he's 27.
That's comedy. No
and now
way.
there's 3 people here whose birthday is November the 15th, and it's Tegan Knox, Chima. You remember Chima?
Yes, I do.
And Macho Man Randy Savage. And you know why it's important that they were born on November 15th?
Because this guy crossed me.
Because I was born on November 15th. They share a birthday with me.
I'm about to say Macho Man.
Tegan Knox, I can't tell her apart from Dakota Kai.
Jesus Christ.
Chima, I can't tell him apart from, I'm not going to say
from
it.
that faction that you can't name.
I'm not going to say it.
Yeah,
and Randy Savage would have been 69. R.I.P.
R.I.P. Macho.
Rabbit fever. Minute of the
Hey, everybody. We know there's tons of podcasts to listen to, so we appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to listen to ours. For Two Beer Zach Pullman,
Love you, Two
for
Beer.
Vice,
Check.
for
Double check.
Murray the Murray Man Murray,
Double
for
check.
Lucha Chris,
Double
for
check.
Patriot Pat. Happy
check.
Veterans Day, sir.
Happy Veterans Day, my friend.
Thank you for your service.
Yes, sir.
Don't forget to...
Sideways in Time.
So, Sideways in Time is the podcast. Don't forget to support your local restaurants.
Check.
Support your local weed dealers.
Double check.
Black Lives Matter.
Double check.
I'm Bill Avagian. Everybody
check.
boo the heels.
Boo!